So there's 4 elements to hiring a really good virtual assistant and making it work, because hiring is only the first part of the process. You need to hire right, you need to systematize, you need to communicate well, and you need to nurture them too.
This is the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast for entrepreneurs and business owners looking for cool online tools, apps and strategies to make business easy online. My name is Nick Cree and I'm your host. Each episode features a guest expert demystifying the online universe, sharing inspirational ideas and providing tested real-world strategies to help you get the most of what's available online to grow your business today. Don't be a slave to your business, get your business working for you. Subscribe now and get some great content and ideas for you and your business today. All right, so at the moment, let's put your hands together and let's welcome Carmen Williams.
Awesome. So thank you, everyone. So I'll share my screen. So there we go, get this rocking. So can you see my screen now?
We can see your screen. How to find the right virtual assistant, make it work for you. Is that the one?
Yeah, beautiful.
Perfect.
So first I'll just tell you that story that Nick alluded to. So I called Nick up a little while ago because I just thought I loved his energy. I loved his energy on the Business Owners Smashing It Online group. I know a lot of you guys are members. It's a really cool group. And I just called him. I stalked him and I called him. And I'm like, oh no, we haven't met before. And he's like, yes, we have at this conference. And then I told him this story about how I was hosting an in-person event, those things before Corona. And I walked up to this guy and I said to him, hi, I'm Carmen. I shook his hand. And he goes, I know, we were not on a date a few years ago. And I just completely had no idea. So I told Nick, don't be offended. He's not the only person I've forgotten. So, but I'm glad we've reconnected because he's a cool dude and yeah, he knows all you people as well. So I've come to talk about virtual assistants, but you know what? I can talk about virtual assistants underwater for a week. So what I need from you is I need you to ask questions, pop them in the chat, put your hand up, go, but Carmen, what about this? I want to make this interactive because otherwise that is how you're going to get the most value from it. So if you're sitting there thinking something, asking a question or going, but what about this? Actually share that because it's going to add to your learnings and the learnings of the group. So is that okay by everyone? We can all participate. All right, beautiful. And Nick, if you can do me a favor and just keep an eye on the chat. And if I get sidetracked, go, hey, Carmen, Debbie's got a question about this. So if you can share, because I get a bit carried away sometimes.
No problem.
All right. Beautiful. So we're going to talk about virtual assistants and hi JM, and I also had the pleasure of interacting with Lorena as well, which is Nick's other virtual assistant. So it's really cool. I love meeting business owners who have got amazing virtual assistants like Lorena and DM and working really well. I love the good news stories. So we're going to talk
and I should say Lorena is here as well too. She was just on the other screen that I couldn't see. So they're both here.
Okay, awesome. Well, hi Lorena as well. So I love hearing these good news stories, and today we're going to talk about how to get more of these good news stories happening potentially in your business if you decide that it's right for you. So before we talk about virtual assistants, shall we talk about me for a little bit? So I hired a VA before I could even afford it. So let's backtrack a bit. So I went and did this coaching course with my current business owner, Maureen Pound. We were just like friends back then. She said, come and do this course. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And she's like, no, come and do it. And I was sitting in the course and she was flapping around. She's a bit of a creative. And on her first day, she's like, this is going to be the best course you've ever done. And I'm sitting there as a scientist with my arms crossed going, I don't like your chances. I've done a lot of courses. Anyway, long story short, the day after the course finished, I walked into my perfectly good job in strategic planning in healthcare and negotiated to leave at lunchtime that day. So I'm a single mum, 2 kids, mortgage, and I tell you what, things got really quickly. I knew nothing about business. I didn't know the difference between sales and marketing. And I quickly realized that, like, in my job, people just knew me and tapped me on the shoulder and asked me to do things. But in business, I quickly learned that I needed to market myself, and I needed to learn how to do it, and I needed to get support to do it, because otherwise I was going to have to do that thing that we all don't want to do, which is go back and get ourselves a job. Because once we have this taste of business, we want to embrace it. So I actually got a virtual assistant to support me with my marketing. Back then I was just doing LinkedIn marketing, now diversified, but to get myself out there, because I knew that there was no chance of it working otherwise. And so it's been a pretty awesome journey. So these are just a few of my team. I love showing their smiley faces. We've got people on our team who've studied robotics engineering and medicine and finance. And we've got, like, you know, people on the team. You know how they say you should hang out with people that are smarter than you? Well, I've got that covered, because my team have got such a diverse range of skills, and they're so much cleverer than me at so many things. So I think that's really awesome. And the other reason I wanted to show pictures of people was because often with virtual assistants, I find that companies are a bit like, it's almost like buying a cow. Like, can I just have like 10 kilos of cow or 10 hours of virtual assistant? And it's like, no, they're a person. They got a personality. They're going to grow with you. It's about the relationship and your team. So that's why I just like going, these are real people. Like, they're real people with real lives, real strengths, real weaknesses. And that's how we need to see them when we're working with them for it to work in the long term. So in terms of the possibilities, what I want you to do, like I told you this was going to be interactive. So I would like you to spend in the 30 seconds, in a minute, I'm going to ask you to spend 30 seconds writing down 3 activities you've done in the last week that you shouldn't have been doing. So that's 3 activities in your business in the last week that you shouldn't have been doing. All right. So if you could do that now. Alrighty. All right, we'll stop there. Obviously, we could go on with this forever. So a few people have shared in the group chat. Nick, you said answering the phone. So tell me a bit about that.
I can tell you a bit about that. My phone goes incessantly and constantly, and sometimes it's difficult to know whether the phone call's actually from sort of a client or a customer, or sort of someone who's wanting to talk about business, or whether it's a telemarketer, or whether it's just a general call or a chit chat or whatever it is, sort of thing. But just answering the phone, like it can be 5 or 6 calls and there's 2 hours gone. And that 2 hours could have been spent more productively somewhere else. And someone could have been filtering those calls, and I could call them back in my own time.
Yeah. All right. Beautiful. Thank you so much. And Gail, writing proposals. Tell me a little bit about your proposals.
Yes. So quote, you can hear me okay?
Yes. Beautiful.
Okay. Yes. Writing proposals and quotes, you know, they take at least a day. And I've got to stretch it across more than a day, because I've got, you know, got to get on and do what I need to do.
Yeah.
To bring the cash in.
Beautiful. And I've got a lot of clients who get their virtual assistants to support them with proposals. And what I find is we sometimes think, well, I still need to put my touch on it. They're not going to be able to get it 100%. But you know what? If they get it 80% and then you just come over and proofread and put your like little bells and whistles on, it can be really powerful. So there are some tasks that you can just completely get someone else to manage. Like, if you get a virtual assistant, you should never have to post again on social media yourself. You just shouldn't have to do that. But with things like proposals, you're going to have, you know, probably get 80% of it done, and then just get that little bit on top. So we've got heaps of different things. editing videos, bookwork, admin stuff, responding to phone messages. So Nick, I've got a program, I can get my team to respond to SMSs. I haven't worked out voice messages on my phone yet, but SMSs work really well. So we've got lots of things here, and it's all about working out. So that's fantastic that we've got some things, and thank you for participating. So with that, so then if we think about it, you also think about what activities don't need to be done by you forever. And so when, like, this is this extra layer that I sometimes go through, and even I challenge myself with this as well. It's like, what activities have I done, and do I need to do it? Like, it's what I find with getting support, it's this continuous process of getting more and more support. So there's obviously things that you can take off your plate. But then there are things, what activities do you want to be doing? So what things do you want to do, but you're like, oh, I just don't get time. I don't have the headspace. So if I wasn't so focused on answering my phone, what would I be doing? So what I'd like you to do in a second, I'm going to ask you to actually write down for the next 30 seconds, what things would you like to do in your business if only you had some time or some headspace to do it? So if you could do that now, please. All right. Beautiful. So what I love about this is that there's a mixture of things. Thank you so much for everyone putting your comments. There's a mixture of things. There's things that you can do in your business. So it could be, or on your business rather. So in your business, it could be selling more. So maybe you should be on the phone and having those conversations or Zoom conversations. I love that there's things that's in your business, and there's things like on your business, like creating a course, which is absolutely fantastic. And then there's things outside of your business, which is very close to my heart, because, you know, part of the reason many of us got into business was to have a life and be able to actually do things. So exercise, spend time with your family, lay on the trampoline looking at the clouds. I don't know, that's one of my favorite activities. So it's really thinking about that. So when you're thinking about getting support, like, you know, people often say, well, what does it cost? Which is a fair question, because you need to get a return on investment, but you also need to think about, well, what does it cost not to get support as well? And that cost is both in your time, so doing certain things, but also the opportunity cost of not doing things. So if Nick didn't have his virtual assistants and was off his feet doing stuff and doing the graphics because JM wasn't doing it, he probably wouldn't have time to do something like this value add for us and his business. So I think that is really, really cool. Now, someone asked, a few people have asked about virtual assistants, so Australia, Philippines, India. So yes, there's advantages and disadvantages to getting virtual assistants, both, like, let's compare the Philippines, where's my team based and Nick's team is based at the moment, and Australia. So there are advantages to getting virtual assistants in Australia. One of the biggest advantages, I think, in Australia is the context. So often they understand the Australian context, they understand the Australian lingo, and if you are getting them on the phone, they're likely to have like that Australian accent as well, which is preferable to some people. So, you know, that might be what you're looking for in your business. The advantage to getting someone within the Philippines or one of those other countries is that because of the cost of living, you can actually get someone who's highly qualified and highly experienced, and it actually will be at a different price point. So, and some business owners want virtual assistants in Australia, and we've actually partnered with a company in Australia to be able to support that. Some people want virtual assistants in the Philippines, and you can have the best of both worlds and a combination of both. So there are some people who've got virtual assistants in Australia to answer their phones and do that sort of thing, but they've got virtual assistants in the Philippines to do their social media and posting and all that stuff. So you can actually have a mixture of that. So there's no right or wrong way. There's just what's going to give you the value in your business. So thank you so much for that question. It's a really important one. All right. So the possibilities, people say to me, oh, I'll call my past clients and referrers. You know how much gold is there? If you've been in business for a while, just touching base with your past clients and referrers, just going, hey, how you going? Like, that can be so valuable, but sometimes you don't get or make that opportunity. Email marketing to your current list, like how many people are guilty about having an email list but not actually doing something with it? And getting active on LinkedIn is another thing. So LinkedIn is like so powerful, and if you're in B2B, it's a place that you really should be. So there's so many cool possibilities. And so I'll just go through these super fast, just in the interest of time. Email triage, social media, interacting with clients, booking meetings, editing videos, ordering captions, responding to LinkedIn messages, send and respond to SMSs, inviting people to events, formatting documents, proofreading, landing pages, intranets, creating systems, coming up with ideas, and all sorts of things. So they're just a little taster, and people always say to me, well, what can a virtual assistant do for my business? But what I really want you to ask yourself is, what do I need in my business? So you think about it, if you were hiring a staff member in Australia or a team member, you wouldn't say, oh, well, thanks for coming to the interview. What can you do for my business? But no, you'd actually say, this is what I need for my business. So it's really about scoping it out and then working out what is possible. Now, it's very Australian, I think, to not want to ask for help. You know, I should be doing this myself. I can do it quicker myself. No one does it as good as me. I can get some help, but I'm in a rush today, so I'll just do it. Now, I've been guilty of thinking all of these things, but the point is, and we can address them, but we don't have a whole lot of time today, but the point is, if you stick to these things, you're never going to get the support in your business to be able to actually progress. So there's 4 elements to hiring a really good virtual assistant and making it work, because hiring is only the first part of the process. You need to hire right, you need to systematize, you need to communicate well, and you need to nurture them too. So the first one we're going to talk about is hiring. So the first step to hiring is actually working out what you need. So I get people coming to me saying, oh, Carmen, I want someone to help me with social media marketing. It's like, yeah, that's great. That's cool. But what skill sets do they need? Do they need to be able to write? Do they need to be able to be creative and come up with ideas and take initiative? Do they need to be able to make things look beautiful on Canva like JM? What actual skill set do they need? So I spend a lot of time upfront working with people on scoping the role, not just the task, but the skills they need, the personality. So I love working with people who like to show initiative and love to come up with ideas. And so it's actually around scoping those other things as well. So to get virtual assistants, there's online platforms like PH Jobs where you can actually buy a subscription and advertise for virtual assistants. There's also recommendations. So I've seen with COVID, some business owners are going, I can't keep my VA busy, who would like support from a virtual assistant. We get recommendations from our current virtual assistants and also some of Nick's virtual assistants as well. They've sent through 3 recommendations, so thank you. Recommendations from the existing virtual assistants about great ones that are looking for work. Then when we do it, when we put an ad on, when we do need to advertise, we actually have like a barrier to entry. So I've done this with dating as well. So you actually do the job description and then at the end you say, you know, in your reply, put your favorite color. Like if you want someone with attention to detail, you put an attention to detail thing at the bottom just to make sure that they've read it. You then need to test for all the things that are going to be important. So yes, test for internet speed, although it's often the people in like the CBD Melbourne that are struggling when I'm on Zoom calls. Do you need a test for their logic? Depends on the role. Do you need a test for their attention to detail, their spelling, their grammar, and any other job specific requirements? Obviously, if you go through a company, hopefully they're testing these things for you, but you need to really think about what things you do need to test before you actually get to interview. In our case, we also get them interviewed by someone within the Philippines as well, because they sometimes just pick up on things that we wouldn't naturally pick up on, and can ask those more difficult questions. So Debbie said, how do you test for logic and attention to detail? So attention to detail, we can actually do tests and say, here's a LinkedIn message, could you correct the grammar? Or logic, we can, depending on the role, we can actually ask them to do a little bit of research where there's a few steps, like how did Maureen and Carmen get together in business? That also tests research. So we just design the tests around the skill set that they need, and it just shows a little bit more commitment to the role than just writing a paragraph going, yeah, I want the job. It's like, no, are you going to jump through these hoops so that we know that you really want it and you've actually got these skills? So at the moment, we're recruiting for like a super high level video editor, like super duper. And the test they're doing is they're actually doing a video editing test. Yeah, so the name of the online platform is PH Jobs. Yeah, beautiful. Thanks for that question, Gail. And then the last step, I think, is the interview by the business owner. So that's where you actually test for their skills, which is like the minimum, but then you need to test for the connection, the chemistry. I call myself a matchmaker because it's all about matching people, because this person's going to work with you in your business, and you're going to be interacting with them multiple times a week, and so you actually need to enjoy interacting with them and feel like you can get a lot of value. So that's around hiring. So the other thing to think about is full-time versus part-time. So one of the things people come to me with is, Carmen, I'll just get someone part-time and then I'll increase it to full-time. It's like, you know what, if you get someone part-time and they're really amazing, they're not going to be waiting around just for when you want to go full-time. They're going to be, juggling other clients. So there's a lot of things, reasons to actually go full-time in terms of getting someone to really support you. And there's unlimited number of things that they can do in your business as well. So I have a lot of people come to me wanting part-time, but they usually talk themselves through a conversation into actually going full-time. So it's just something to consider, because there's so much support that you can get in your business. And if you want to keep someone in the long term, then, all they often want is full-time work. So if you're able to provide that for them, that's really actually attractive, and your priorities become their priorities. So that's around hiring. So Nick, just a time check. How much time do we have to get through the...
We've got till about 7:30. So you've got another half an hour or so.
All right, beautiful.
Half an hour. I want to see what she charges.
Beg pardon? All right, beautiful. So that's around hiring. So the next one is around systemizing your business. So now it's a little bit of chicken and the egg here. So obviously the more systemized you are, the easier it is to get support. But you don't want to wait until everything is perfect, because then it's never going to be perfect and you're not going to get support. So what I often do with clients is to work out, okay, what's the minimum requirements to get someone started? What's the minimum amount that they need to be able to provide support to you in your business? And then you layer it onto there. So every day we're still creating new systems and refining systems in our business. And often it's our virtual assistants that are supporting us with some systems as well. So when we recruit, one of the things that we think about is how mature is that business? How systemized is it? Because it also depends on the individual or the virtual assistant. Do they like it when it's a little bit chaotic and they get to put their mark on it and get to come up with ideas and create systems? Does that excite them? Does that get them going? Or does that make them feel unsafe? Or are they someone who likes that certainty and likes to come to work and to have the process in place and to follow the process and enjoys that? So it's also around thinking about the sort of role. That's something else you look at when you're recruiting. So to systemize things, you don't need to sit there and write a whole procedure or process. Like, it's great to do that, but you don't need to do that. So one of the things that I do is actually just to do a screen capture. So the next time, I remember I did this screen capture when I was getting ready for one of our in-person networking events. This here is just a document on where people tick their names off to say whether they rocked up or not. And if they rocked up, they went down a different funnel to if they didn't rock up to our in-person event. Now, this takes 5 minutes, but it's not only the time it took me, it was also the thinking of, oh, we've got an event. I should get my list off Infusionsoft and put it in there and then format it and then, everything like that. So the next time I did it, I recorded my screen and then I sent it to a member of my team and I said, hey, before every single event, could you do this for me? Could you send this to me by 5 p.m. the day before the event? And then without fail, I got this list and I just needed to print it out. So not only did it save me 5 minutes every single time we had an event, but it also saved the cognitive load of thinking, I better do it. I better do it. I better do it. Don't forget to do it, Carmen. So when you're thinking about the value of getting support, you need to also think about the saving, in that cognitive load. How you think, it's not just the time of going to the supermarket. It's the thinking, oh, well, we need honey and I need to get those cheesy things for the kids' lunches, and that thinking around it. So when you systemize things, you can actually then assign responsibility to someone else. So when I speak to business owners, they're like, oh, I just want to be able to hand something over and not to have to worry about it again. And so obviously that can take time and processes, but it's actually really magical. I never have to post a bit of content ever again. That will just be handled. If I am sick, if I'm on holidays, if I'm having a bad day or I'm on top of the world, my content will just go up. It just happens, because we've created those systems. So the first thing around systemizing is that it doesn't have to be perfect, but you need to work out where to start. Now, obviously, each one of our clients is really different. Each one of your businesses are different, but a lot of our clients come to us and go, okay, well, we need to, we want to do LinkedIn marketing. That's a very common thing. And so where we start often is, great, we'll work with you on the strategy. We've got training for your team member. You don't even need to know how to use LinkedIn Sales Navigator. We just need it. And so they can get started on that while you build the other things on top of it. So I just got a question from Hans around creating content. So yes, creating content is something that I do myself. So I create videos. I do live events with Nick, for example, and other people. And so I do create that content. I also write my own content, and a lot of the business owners I work with choose to also write their own content as well. But saying that, I don't actually, so I film my content, I create the raw bits for my content, but I don't do anything else with it. So my team are now repurposing the lives and putting all this cool editing on and all this extra stuff, and just posting segments of the lives which are really engaging. So these, you got this half an hour live interview, and then they're just posting this 1 minute segment up with this really cool editing. Or they've watched my videos and go, oh, what Carmen said there, that little sentence was really profound. We're going to make it a quote, and we're going to look through Carmen's Facebook and find this picture of Carmen running and put the quote there, and then it just pops up one day. Now, Dougie asked, do you organize content for your VA? So it's a great question, Dougie. So it depends on the maturity of your relationship with your VA and also the control you want around it. So I'm now at a stage where I just say to my team, just could you curate it and just do it? And that they have complete autonomy. But I've got to this stage where I just trust them, and that they know my brain, I know their brain. Like I've got certainty that what's going to come out is going to be consistent with how I want to be seen. But I've got other clients who work for like larger companies or more conservative companies, and they meet every Friday to just approve the content that's going to go out next week. So there's different processes. So what I recommend is at the start, where you're still learning about each other, you actually have the controls in place. So meet weekly and go, yes, I like that bit of content, or no, that's not how I want it to look on Canva. Could you go and redo it? And Nick's just said that his team do most of his content and emails and social media and graphics. So that's really cool as well. So it depends on how much control you want on it. Like Lorena said to me, Carmen, you know, what picture do you want for the social media? And I said, just, you know, you go wild, choose a picture, whatever you want to promote this event. Now, sometimes you can get variations. So because, and I want a magic fairy, I know it's probably bad, but Maureen and I at the start, when it was like, we're like, who did that? And so then we started calling the team the fairies, but anyway, we don't do that anymore, but I can relate to that term. So I'll tell you a story of how it can go wrong, because it's not always perfect as well. So we did a in-person event, and so in those events, like it's really dynamic and I'm busy, but I just snapped a few photos and a few short videos, and then I just sent it to my team, and then they, while the event was happening, put the post up, tagged everyone in the event. And anyway, so this post went up, and you know what? The music behind all the pictures was rock music. Now, I don't know why they chose rock music, but it's not really what I would have chosen. So I have like a high degree of tolerance for variation. So I'm like, you know, guys, could you just not do rock music next time? But the point is, like, they just did something, and sometimes they do stuff that's so good that I wouldn't even have known to ask for it. So you can give them a lot of freedom, especially as you develop your relationship. But at the start, you might want to put controls in place. So I actually work with business owners when I work with them around, you know, okay, well, what's it going to look like now, and what's it going to look like in the future? So when you systemize things, you need to work out where you're going to start. What's the most important thing to get systemized? Then you record the process, so you can write it down, or you can just record your screen. So I record my screen and I talk to myself, and I'm like, you know, then we go here and then we go here, and this is the reason I chose to do it here. So I just explain what's going on in my head. When the process is recorded, it means that they can be reviewed again. And often what I do is, sometimes if I'm, you know, just doing it myself, you know, I get creative in the morning, I might just record it myself. But often, if it's a more complicated thing, I get my team member who's going to do it on the call, and then I record the call, like on Zoom, and then we step through it together. And then they can ask questions, but then they can review my answers to the questions. So you can actually teach someone and record it all at the same time. And then you can ask them to document the process, because once a process is documented, it's easier to amend it as well. So then once you've got it documented, you can refine the process. So it's this continuous process. It never actually, you know, you don't ever finish it. So I just wanted to give you an example of one of our clients. So Michael Royale, he's like, before COVID and before his VA, he's like this in-person networking master. So everyone in Williamstown, which is a place in Melbourne, everyone knows him. Like he invited us to come and do an event out there, and like seriously, everyone knew him. It was like really freaky. But now that he has got a virtual assistant, he's a very affable person. So he's bringing his, you know, his personality online, and now he's going across all the social media platforms. So that's an example of how people use it. And you know how I said before, like the content. So yes, I created this video. I didn't put these things on. Yes, Maureen and I got into a park together and we had a chat, but we didn't do the rest of it. Yes, I stood at the back of the room and took the picture of Maureen, but I didn't put the quote on it. Yes, so that But this here, this goes up day in, day out, this stuff across all platforms, independent of what's going on for me. I could be doing sales calls all day. I could be on the beach all day. Whatever happens, that goes up all the time. I was speaking to a future client the other day, and she said, because Carmen, I just see you. And she's paused because she was going to mention a platform, and she's like, I just see you everywhere. So this is one of the things that's possible. So obviously your virtual assistants can do marketing, and they can do all sorts of other things as well, but that's what's possible. So I get calls from people going, oh, I loved your video this morning. And I'm like, what video was that? Because I have a video that goes up on LinkedIn every day, and I got like 5 different videos that go up on Facebook in various locations. So yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, hands, I completely get that. Like it's this continuous process of learning, and yeah, and it's really cool. So before I move on, we've covered how to hire a virtual assistant. We've discussed systemization, and now we're going to move to communication. But before we do that, can I just check in? And what I'd like you to do is just to share one of the key things that you've learnt or had an aha moment so far. So if you could share in the comments just one thing where you've gone, oh, I never thought of that, or something you've learnt or a realization you've had from so far. So if you could do that now. All right, beautiful. All right, beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. Donna, I agree with you. I say to clients when they start with us, because I say, oh, are there contracts? And I'm like, no. If we make it work, you're going to stay with us forever. It's just month to month, dude. But you know, if we make it work, you're going to stay with us. And within 6 months, you're going to be coming for your next team member, because it does get really addictive. So I get really creative ideas in the morning. I think I'm a genius, like at 5 a.m., like I'm just on fire some days. And I just like, it's so powerful to have an idea and then get your team to implement it, just by shooting them a message or having a conversation, and then like your idea just happens. So it's really cool. So just to address the content thing. So hands at the start, producing content was a bit challenging for me, but now I just do it whenever I feel energy. So if I'm got energy around something, I just pull out selfie stick, shoot like videos, and then just send it off to my team. So my team just accumulate the content that I produce. I could go a month without producing content and they'd still have stuff to put up. They'd just like, you know, reach into the archives and pull stuff back. So as the more you do this, the more content they're going to have to be able to pull from. All right. All right, beautiful. So next thing we're going to do is around communication. So the thing is, I sort of think it's around like getting married. So everyone focuses on the wedding. So they focus on hiring the virtual assistant, but it's all around, you know, as marriages are, it's all around communication, or, you know, getting it working. So communication and nurturing, it's that long-term thing, because you can get someone to do tasks. Like if you want someone just to like create a thumbnail from YouTube, like go to Upwork or something. But if you want someone to work with you, like, you know, JM knows Nick, you know, I'm sure they've learned a lot together. I'm sure JM knows how Nick likes things to look, and just, you know, to work with you and build that relationship and support you to grow your business, to know your idiosyncrasies, to go, Carmen's gone manic again, I don't need to respond to her 50 messages, you know, she'll calm down. Just to be able to work with you on that. It's around the communication and the nurturing, which is what we're going to move to now. So communication, obviously there's the technical communication. So when I work with people, we often think about how you're going to communicate. So here is just a picture of our Slack channel. So Slack is one of the systems we use, but a lot of our clients use other things. So it might be, especially if you've got a smaller team, might be Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or whatever. And so we have this process where our team just like sign in, they sign out, they tell us when we're going for lunch. So we just know where everyone is at any time. So often with virtual assistants, people complain, oh, you know, I can't, you know, are they there? Are they accessible? Our team are just accessible the whole time, and except for when they're at lunch. So we know exactly where they are. We use Slack as well for group communication and DMs, and you can also call people on Slack and things like that. So it's just one of the tools. But usually I work with the business owner around what tools they've already got set up in their business and build on that. If they've got nothing, obviously we start from scratch as well. So there's the mode and systems of communication. And the other thing people forget about is they forget about SMS. So or the SMS equivalent. So SMSs are awesome. Like if I'm catching up with Nick and I'll just send him an SMS and go, hey, Nick, running 5 minutes late. So we also need to think about what is the equivalent to SMS, you know, internationally as well. So like I said, sometimes it could be Slack, WhatsApp, Facebook, all sorts of things that are there, but we need to think about the face-to-face, the SMS equivalent, and then the more detailed sharing of information. So either a document or a longer process, and how's that going to be shared? So then the other thing, and like this is like one line, like continuously reinforce the culture of no blame. Like this is one line, but it's like so huge. So I had Jonathan, one of my team members, mess up the other day. He manages all our leads. And so he misread a lead and responded in a way, and this person just blew up. And like Jonathan came to me and he's like, I just blew up a lead, Carmen. And even though he's worked with us for a long time and we're really kind, he has been conditioned. So like his previous jobs in the Philippines, he's been conditioned that if you made a mistake like that, you'd be out on your backside, like without any questions asked. But I just spoke to him like, I make mistakes all the time. And, you know, if this person blew up over that, I don't want them as a client anyway. Like, it's just, so like it's no blame. Like I know Jonathan, he's like the most dedicated person. He's the most on the ball person. And he made a mistake that day. And so it's all around just seeing them as people and supporting them and making them feel safe to be able to go, look, I blew up that lead, or, you know, this happened. What are we going to do next? So, because a lot of the time they're coming from a culture where it's like just this top down, and that just doesn't result in, you know, if we want to support innovation and creativity, it's like, yeah, you put rock music behind my video. Could you, I don't really like that. But there wasn't any blame there. It's just like, you know, I didn't tell you that I didn't want that. So, you know, just don't do it next time. And they've never done that again. So it's really around getting that culture and seeing them as people. Sometimes when things go wrong, business owners naturally just like blame the virtual assistant. But often I get to see both sides. It like takes two to tango. So sometimes virtual assistant hasn't been communicative, or the business owner hasn't been communicative. So when something doesn't go to plan, I don't go, you know, hey, Jonathan, or hey, Dana, or whatever. I don't work out who's to blame. I'm like, cool, how can we do this better together? So I think this is a huge thing around creating that culture. And so obviously that's something we really value and we do within our team as well. It's also around communication of expectations and priorities. So one of the things business owners often say to me is, oh, I want someone who shows initiative. But what does initiative mean? And so it's around actually saying, you know, I would like you to come to me with ideas on my content. Like I'm just, you know, people are out there producing all sorts of content. What content's really good? I want you to bring to me ideas. So Paul's asked a really good question around, do people manage the VAs themselves, the business owners, or do their staff? And so it's actually a combination, Paul. So we have a lot of clients who've got team members in Australia. And so one of our clients, he's got 2 virtual assistants. One virtual assistant reports to him directly. It's more like a PA person. And the other virtual assistant reports to his salespeople. And so it can be a combination. They can report to 2 people, or they actually get different virtual assistants to do different functions in the business. So it doesn't have to be the business owner if you've actually got that team supporting you. And also encourage feedback as well. So feedback for you, feedback for them, and, you know, just really enforce that culture. And another way of communication is, especially when virtual assistants are getting started, depending on the communication systems within the client's business. But for most people, they start with end-of-day reports. So an end-of-day report is just a simple short report to go, hey, Carmen, this is what I've done today. This is what I haven't been able to do. I'm going to focus on tomorrow. And these are the questions I've got for you. And it's just a nice way to tie up the day. And it just works really well. Obviously, if you've got more sophisticated project management reporting system tools, you might not need it. But for most people, when they get their first virtual assistant, it's just a nice thing to have. So we had a client, and his VA came to us because he's like, oh my goodness, I'm so overwhelmed. And he was like ready to resign. Like the training had not been consistent. The staff member wasn't telling the business owner how he was feeling. He didn't feel comfortable. The staff member was ready to resign. They were too polite to ask the right questions. And so we actually intervened, and the business owner actually supported his virtual assistant around working out what the most important tasks and projects were. And the staff member felt totally supported, and he felt that he was adding value to the client's business, and it was a happy story. So it just shows you how wrong it can go, but how easy it is to actually rectify it and turn it around. So Alan, he's a cool client of mine. Before his, wife was doing a whole heap of things in the business, and Alan wasn't getting to do his thing, relationships and sales and creating TikToks. He's a creative sort of person. So then he got Jeanette, and his mind was open to possibilities. And Alan was very clear with me. He's like, Carmen, I want support with communication, and he's so open to reflecting on himself, reflecting on how he could communicate better. And so now Alan's happily doing his thing. If you connect with him on Facebook, you see all these creative TikToks, and he's a video person, so it's very relevant to him. And, things are working really well. So then there's nurturing your virtual assistant. So giving them opportunities to learn or grow. So we just recently did a survey, and a lot of people said, oh, I want to learn about SEO. So we're now seeking opportunities to provide training on SEO. Flexibility. So I had a team member say to me, this was like pre-COVID, there's this school thing. Do you think it might be okay? Maybe if I could go, they're so tentative. I'm like, yes. I really value work-life balance. And so let's make it happen. Let's make it work so that you can go to your kid's school thing. Like, how awesome is that we can actually provide those opportunities. We also like to provide a fun environment. So, they work really hard, but also let's have some fun together. I like having fun. I like having a joke with Nick about how I don't, I forget guys who I dated when I see them at events. Let's just have some fun and share some stories and build that. And so I think I think that's really cool. So I wrote this post about my team. When I say I wrote it probably at 5 a.m. And then one day my team posted it. And my team then tagged a whole heap of people in my team in my LinkedIn post. I had business owners saying to me, Carmen, did you know your whole team's tagged in your post? I'm like, no, I didn't know. And they're like they were worried for me. They thought that my team were going to be nabbed. So then I spoke to my team. I said, did anyone get any job offers on LinkedIn? And they said yes. And I said, why didn't you go? Like, why didn't you say yes? And they said, because here we get to be ourselves. And oh my God, that's like warms my heart. It makes me want to cry at the same time. Like, to think that, you know, this is the first time you've had a job where you get to be yourself. So yeah, so we have fun and all sorts of things. I think about a community. So, you know, connect them with any staff you have in Australia or in Nepal or wherever Nick was talking about before. Connect them with other people in your business and support them to provide a community. And like, if you're, you know, you don't support your VA and they're not feeling loved and they're not feeling nurtured, you could put all this time into them and then they could just leave. So it's really around, you know, getting those people who are going to, you know, love you and love your business and are going to grow with you and are committed to being with you. So Graham, he puts logos on uniforms and he does like sports uniforms and all sorts of cool stuff. And when we spoke to Graham, he was a bottleneck in the business. He was the only one who could do like the high level graphics. He outsourced the simple things, but he kept the more complicated things to himself. So then he got Tessa and he really supported Tessa. So Tessa learnt the simple things first and then she learnt the more complex things. And because sporting's down at the moment, Tessa's now doing marketing. So we've been able to diversify her role. And so Graham's actually, you know, now able to be more versatile in his business. And you know, that thing that only he could do, Tessa's now able to do it as well. So, you know, you can check in with your staff. So we nurture our team. These are just some examples. So we've got an operations manager who just like, they're the person that checks in with them, says how they're going. This is our Christmas party. It's punk rock. So everyone got dressed up and we had competitions and stuff. So like, there's all sorts of creative ways to actually nurture your team. You can have jokes, you can have competitions, you can do all sorts of really cool stuff. So how to get a really cool VA and make it work? So you need to hire them, which involves scoping the role and going out and hiring. That's almost the easiest thing to do in a funny way, although it does take a lot of time and resources and thought. Then it's around systemizing, you know, your business, but just systemizing enough to get started. It's around communication, clear communication with your virtual assistant, and then nurturing them for that long-term relationship. Because we reckon that business and life should be fun. So I loved how you guys said that getting a virtual assistant or, you know, would be able to support you to do more things in your business and more things out of your business, because, you know, that's what life is about. Awesome. So now I'd love questions. Thank you, Sunil.
Well, there was one question right at the very beginning, which I thought I'd just scroll back to see whether that's covered. And that was from Marley, and she had lots and lots of questions in her one. From things like, what's a fair hourly rate? There's probably one. And how do we know we can trust someone with our confidential info? And how many hours are the minimum? So you've answered that there. But yeah, confidential info. And what's a fair hourly rate?
Yeah. So in regards to the hourly rate, obviously it depends on a whole heap of different factors. So in terms of, you know, Joomla expert is going to cost a lot more than a general marketing person, someone who writes copy is going to cost more than an admin person potentially. So what I suggest you do is work out what you want, and then if you use PH jobs, for example, if you're going to do it yourself, you actually look at other jobs that are advertised, and it'll give you an indication of what the hourly rate is. If you're going to go through a company like mine or another company, it's actually going to cost you more per hour than if you do it yourself. But obviously there's the other added benefits and support from going through a company like that. So it's a sort of a piece of string question, but that's how I'll go and find out, is through PH jobs. Yeah, for a similar role. Cool.
And the other one was confidential info, and I think that's like sharing passwords and all that sort of thing. How do you manage and go about that?
So I really love this question, because often when people ask me things, I say, oh, how would you do it in Australia? So, so sharing stuff with your team member is going to become a really trusted member of your team. So like, you need to like them and you need to be able to trust them. Obviously there's confidentiality agreements, and some clients, stick that on as an extra layer. One of our clients, he works with like the biggest banks in the world, and so he's got a virtual assistant. But if you think about it, if you're going to hire someone in Australia, what processes would you have here? And then just apply them to someone over there as well. So some of our team have got credit card details, and some of them don't. And one way to share your social media or any logins that is easy to retract is using a program called LastPass. And so you can actually share your details. But so Nick could give me his Facebook login details, but I actually wouldn't see his username and password, and he can then go, oh, I don't like Carmen anymore, and just take it away from me instantly. So that's a really cool program that can be used. But the thing is, I think you need to select someone you can trust.
Any other questions here? Have you had any negative experiences with VAs? I can tell you I have, and I've had lots of positive as well.
Yeah. So in terms of negative experiences with virtual assistants, there's a whole heap out there, but there's so many ways that you can mitigate them. So like, for example, one of the ways, one thing that I see on forums, the virtual assistant just disappeared off the face of the planet. And if you're hiring someone for like 10 hours a month, they're not going to be committed to you. Like, it just doesn't work like that. You're not committing to them, and they're not committing to you. They're juggling all these other jobs. If they get a better offer, they're going to go that way. So it's all around building that commitment, building that relationship so that they stay. Have I had negative experiences? Yeah, I've sacked some people, but I haven't had any disaster stories where they've turned evil or anything. I think everyone we've hired has been very honorable. Some of them haven't worked out. So where does your team get the content for social media posts? In other words, do you have a repository of stuff, or do they just trawl? So what I do is, when I'm feeling, how sometimes days you have those days where you're feeling really good, and some days where you just blah. On the days I'm feeling really good, and I might just have had a chat with Nick and he might have inspired something, then I get my selfie stick and I just like do some videos. And then I send them to my team, and then I don't think about them again, and then I randomly see them in places. So yes, we have a repository, but I just like send it to a person, and then they just sort it out. So we've got like the raw content, and then we've got the edited content, because different things go on LinkedIn and different things go on Facebook, and like Facebook ads are going to be different to organic social Facebook and all sorts of stuff. And so all that stuff's kept. Can we have an email address or a website for future reference? Yeah, sure. So our website is, I'll just type it in, globalteams.com.au. If you want to email me, if you've got a specific question, you can just email me at carmen@globalteams.com.au. Or if you prefer my business partner, Maureen, like, we've got a bit of competition going on, you could also email her as well with any questions or things that you want.
Awesome. Wow, we're at 7:30. In fact, we're past that now. So that has been a fabulous evening tonight, and all of the information you've shared has been excellent, actually, and some good questions coming through tonight as well too. So I mean, I'd love to put my 30 cents in as well too, but everybody knows I'm all in favour of VAs. Now, my team's nowhere near as big as Carmen, but 7 of us working in our business, and that hasn't happened overnight. But yeah, it's certainly been the thing that I've grown my business with, and I can't imagine doing my business without VAs anymore. So it's really just normal, really, just part of life.
Yeah, you're right. Like at the start it might be a bit scary because it's a bit like an out-of-body experience, but it gets really addictive, and then you're never going to go back.
All right. Well, thank you once again, Carmen, and thanks everybody for participating tonight. Hopefully there's some really good information there. I would encourage you to talk to Carmen if you're thinking about, getting a VA or just want to explore the topic a bit further. She's more than happy to, well, I think she is anyway, more than happy to chat and sort of help you to explore some of those options. All right, so tonight we actually have, do you want to just unshare your screen there, Carmen, and I'll flick us through to our draw tonight. We do actually have a draw tonight for a Lucky Door prize, and that's kindly sponsored and offered by Carmen herself. So do you want to tell us a bit about what that is tonight?
Yeah, so I'd love to, the door prize is for me to support someone with the scoping of the virtual assistant role. So we find that this is, the first step of a successful process. And so part of this is I get inside your head, I ask you a whole heap of questions, we'll document it, not only the task, but also the type of mind that they need to have, the skills. And you can then either take this and go to a company and say, hey, give me this, please. Or you can go on PH Jobs and post it. It's the start of the process of finding yourself someone awesome. Because what we find is that people often come into these conversations thinking they want one thing, and they walk out with this whole realization that it's actually going to look a bit different, but it's going to be really amazing. So I'd love to support someone for them to get really clear and to document what they're after in their business.
Awesome. Who'd find that useful? Put your hand up if you'd find that helpful and useful for where you are now. Excellent. Fantastic. All right. Well, we've got this unique way of running our draw tonight. So it's one of my other favorite apps called Wheel of Names. So, and what we've done is we've entered in all of the names of everybody that's attended tonight. So remember, the rules of this is that to win it, you have to be here. So anyone's disappeared, we'll just draw it again. All right. So let's spin the wheel. We'll click on the middle and spin the wheel. And the winner is Gail Tagaro. Congratulations. Is Gail still here?
I sure am. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Excellent. How perfect is that, eh?
Oh, my goodness. Thank you.
Awesome. That's great. So, all right. So maybe, Gail, if you just drop your email address in and say phone number, just drop it in privately to Carmen. You can do that in the chat there. And then you can hook up together sort of at some point next week or later this week.
Thank you. Wonderful.
All right. So let's get back to my slides here. Let's see where we are. Probably sort of wildly out of order now. Okay. And okay, all right, so my screen is now frozen, so let's not worry about that too much. Here we go. For those that I just want to let you know that we do have a site there, like all of the presentations that we've been running over the past few months. We're just collating all those at the moment, ready to upload into a membership area here, which is going to be available for you. We've got a heap of stuff in there at the moment and more going into it every day as well. So if you like the apps, if you enjoy the presentation, if you want a resource to keep coming back to, come and join the Business Owners Smashing Online Business Community. There's the link there on screen. So it's posbiz.in/join. Free for the first month, and I think it's $27 a month after that. That's our founder's price. So if you get in, it'll never go up, and you'll get access to everything that's there. So that's posbiz.in/join. And next week. So next week's topic is, it's on Tuesday from 6 to 7:30. We have a chap by the name of Tim Hyde coming along. He's an automation expert, and he'll be talking to us about how do you automate some of your workflows, the things you do in your business, your autoresponders, your communication, workflows, processes, all sorts of things using some of the tools and CRMs that are currently available. I was just chatting with him this morning, and he's a real sort of whiz and expert at it. So that's definitely a session to come and join as well too. So to register for that, doors are open for that now. You just need to go to that link that's on the screen, and we'll drop that into chat as well too. So it's posbiz.in/Bosio. So I'll drop that in on chat so you can go and register there. All right. So I think that is what we'd call a wrap for tonight for Business Owners Smashing It Online this week. So thanks again, Carmen, for coming through tonight and sharing your wisdom for us. That was awesome for me as well too. And my two team members there, I think, are sort of validating what you're saying as well too. So they're in the Philippines. And actually, Lorena is the one that I've worked with for the longest. I think we've been together now for about 8 years. So that's been a fairly long-standing, relationship in the VA world. And JM has been, I think it's been a couple of years with JM now. And JM was someone that I hired before we needed him. And he was someone who did some work for me on a short-term basis. And I thought, we can't really afford to lose him, so let's just hire him. But he's as busy as now anyway. So you definitely hire before you need them.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, thanks everyone for coming along tonight. Thanks, Carmen. And we'll see you all again here next week. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, James just reminded me, if you haven't gone yet, we do have our office hours tomorrow. So at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, we've got office hours, which is just an open session to have a discussion about anything you like online. So if you've got any questions, apps you're looking for, some processes you want to have a chat about online, or maybe something that you just need to get some advice on, come and join that. It is no agenda. It's at 10 o'clock. We'll be marketing that, and the link will be on the Business Owners Smashing It Online Facebook page. So if you're not a member, go and join that. And you're more than welcome to come along at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. It'll be on Zoom as well too, but it's just really an open discussion. All right, go and have a good night, and we'll see you all again. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast. You can also find me on social media and online. Just search for Business Owners Smashing It Online and Nick Cree, spelled Nikcree, all one word. If you like this and want to hear more, subscribe now. Until next time, don't be a slave to your business. Get your business working for you.